In the future, I'm not going to have time like I have right now, and I'm certainly not going to be able to live the life that I can right now. That includes checking things off of my bucket list. Now, through my 8 years of living in Vietnam, there's been something on my bucket list that I've never really done. And that's like a big north to south road trip, or just a multi-day road trip. Or as we might say in Vietnamese, toi chua đi foot. And actually, that's part of the reason I haven't done a big road trip, because I've always been afraid of not speaking Vietnamese. And that's something I don't have to worry about as much anymore. Now, doing a big road trip through Vietnam is complicated. There's planning, there's packing, and then there's just kind of surviving on the open road with semi-trucks. And I wanted to take you on this journey I recently did through a series of videos, but I also wanted to kind of interweave my love for tech. So in the first video in this series, I'm going to tell you about all of the tech items I brought with me on a 2,000 kilometer road trip through central Vietnam. I'm going to show you guys some of the scenery, some of the sights, some of the sounds, some of the food, and kind of all the stuff I brought with me to document it and enjoy the trip. The first day of the journey was from Hanoi to the central Vietnamese city of Vinh. It's a city famous for being the birthplace of Bác Hồ, or Ho Chi Minh as we might say, and it's about 330 kilometers south of Hanoi. Now, the day that we left on this trip was heavy rain, followed by an occasional dry patch of sunshine. And as you will see here, the first piece of tech that I brought with me to document this trip was the brand new DJI Action 5 Pro, along with some magic arms that we used to mount it to the motorcycle. Now, in general, I'm not a big action camera guy, but they are invaluable for a trip like this, and they're a great solution for giving POV footage. Now, the waterproof construction meant that I didn't need to have any kind of special housing for the camera, and the new mounting system means that I could easily take the camera off the bike to bring it in with me to a shop. And the two magic arms I brought with me offer a relatively sturdy mounting solution, and they can be used with my phone as well, and they can be kind of oriented in a variety of different ways. And the clamps are surprisingly strong, and I actually found that magic arms were an okay solution for mounting my action camera along the way. After an almost 7-hour journey, mostly in the pouring rain, we made it to Vinh City by around 2:30 p.m. We tried to get out of Hanoi before 7 o'clock, but with rain and traffic, it was kind of difficult. Now, riding around the city, one thing you gotta know about Vietnam is that if you come to a small city at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, after lunch hours and before dinner hours, you're not gonna have a lot of options. But being in Vietnam for 8 years means that I kind of know where I can always find really delicious food in Vietnam. Just look for like a local market, or in Vietnamese, we would call it a chợ. You can usually find great food for either the vendors of the market, or the restaurants have fresh food from the vendors in the market. Now, this market did not disappoint, because I immediately saw crispy pork belly sandwiches that were being advertised by a little street cart, and they were phenomenal. And then later that night, we went out for sticky rice, which is one of my favorite meals of this trip. In Vietnamese, we would call it soy, and then it's sticky rice and generally some kind of stewed meat or a fried egg or all of the above. We had found a recent hotel that was just advertised online through Booking, and it was like $20 a night. So after the sticky rice, we went ahead and called it an evening. Editor Mitchell here, and I realized that at this point of the video, I should probably introduce my travel companion. His name is Nam, but you might know him as Gonzo. He is a member of Rapital, one of the larger hip hop groups that is coming out of Hanoi right now. He's a super talented individual. He makes cool music, and I got to meet him because my business was covering one of his shows here, and we really hit it off after the show. The vibe was impeccable. And I saw that he was also interested in motorcycles, and he ended up coming with me, and I'm really happy he did. If you guys want to check out his music, I will leave links to it. And him and I are going to be doing some pretty cool projects in the future. So you might be seeing more of him on my channel, or you might be seeing some more projects that him and I do together in the future. Now, this brings me to another tech gadget on the trip, because you can see in the video I'm using headphones, and that would be the Oppo M32 wireless headphones. Now, these are neck band headphones, and neck band headphones are actually probably one of my favorite type of headphones to use overall. They don't require an extra case like truly wireless headphones would. You don't have to worry about losing them. And on top of that, they have a mic that's kind of really close to your mouth. So overall, I just find neckband headphones to be great, especially when riding a motorcycle, because they also provide some ear protection from the wind. The headphones overall sound fine. My only real gripe with them is the fact that the only way to turn them off is to magnetically connect each of the earbuds, and that will turn it off. They have 25 hours of battery life. Otherwise, I'd be more concerned about battery drain with them becoming disconnected, but it hasn't really been an issue for me yet. And I would say that they're pretty good for neckband headphones. Now, the second day of the trip, the weather report said that we would essentially be racing thunderstorms. So we skipped breakfast and we headed to the hills southwest of Ving City. About an hour outside of the city, we decided it was time for some breakfast. And at that point, we stopped at a little spot along the side of the road. Now, small towns like this don't get much in the way of tourism, especially from foreigners that speak the language, and especially not from tall Vietnamese people like my friend Gonzo. Sitting down, we were like instantly approached by a local who couldn't stop asking the same 10 questions that you kind of get all over Vietnam. And about 15 minutes later and 20 or 30 photos later, we were fed and we kind of continued on our journey. For the first 3 hours or so leaving breakfast, we had beautiful weather, a bit of sunshine, it was warmth, and it was like a nice change. But as we began to kind of gain elevation and go closer to the border with Laos, it seemed like our luck would run out. And with about 120 kilometers to go, we got a double whammy of both sunshine and rain. If you guys have ever heard the Creedence Clearwater song, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? That was probably inspired by the Vietnamese War or the American War, depending upon which side you're on. Now, the rain was patchy enough that we didn't really want to stop for rain gear. And by this point, we had the choice to either be soaked in sweat and condensation from wearing our waterproof rain gear or being soaked by rain. Now, talking about rain, it's worth noting that throughout this entire trip, I had my Chipolo tracker attached to my keys with trackers from a variety of other different brands on my bike, in my bags, and I also taped my Pebblebee card to my ID, my residency card, and my bike registration so that I could have some kind of ability to recover it if it was lost. Nothing can ruin a trip like a lost pair of keys or a lost or stolen bag. And luckily, all of my trackers survived the trip and none of the valuables were lost along the way. I would totally recommend Find My Device trackers from any of the brands I've reviewed, and I'll have links to where you guys can check out reviews for all that stuff, either up here or in the comments in a pinned comment. Now, we hit a few traffic jams along the way, mostly caused by cows roaming along the road, and we did get a few patches of sun, which happened to coincide with some of the best stretches of tarmac that we had on the trip. Now, our final destination for the day was the city of Phom Nha. Now, Phom Nha is famous because it houses the largest cave in the world, and there's a lot of tourism around doing trekking and doing expedition tours to these caves, but we really weren't interested in that. We were just hoping to get some sunlight along with some of the best driving roads in the country. And we did get that for some of that, but it constantly felt like we were fighting or kind of racing the rain. We had stretches of road that were absolutely majestic, and then we had stretches of road that were less majestic but were sunny. And we got to Phom Nha about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and we were facing the same exact problem that we had the day before, which is that most of the local restaurants were going to be closed. We kind of just randomly discovered, while looking around for places that were open, a homestay that was actually more famous for their food than for being a great homestay. And we immediately got a huge spread of Central Vietnamese food, and we were not disappointed. We had barely started eating though, and lo and behold, a tropical thunderstorm passes over. Confirmation that we had made the right decision to kind of pick up the pace earlier and not stop as much along the way as much as we kind of wanted to. Now we found another local lodge and we headed there to get a room before we were kind of caught in the rain again. After check-in, it was almost sunset time, and that kind of meant that it was time for a sunset beer after a long day of riding. So we headed out to walk around, and on the way, I got to play with one of my newest tech toys that I brought along this trip. It's the Zhiyun Smooth 5E, and it's one of the newest smartphone gimbals from Zhiyun, and it's got some pretty wild features. There's an AI tracking attachment, and it works without any kind of extra app and stuff like that, which is really crazy. And if you just want to use the stock camera app on your device, a lot of the controls on the gimbal are just going to be compatible with that in general. The app itself is a little bit clunky, although there are quite a few features. And if you guys want to check out a review of that, I'll probably do a review on my third YouTube channel that's all about film and photography gear. Now, to be fair, this was kind of my first time playing with the gimbal, and the footage I got from it didn't seem that great. Talking about the gimbal, though, the second tech item that I picked up for this trip was I wanted to get rid of my Pixel 8 Pro and get a Samsung device. And after using it for a month, I think that the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra is an absolutely awesome device, and I really love being able to start and stop the camera recording with the Bluetooth pen. It's one of the reasons I bought it over the S25 Ultra specifically. Another reason that I got an S24 Ultra is that I was going to have storage concerns, and I knew that I was likely going to run out of storage at some part of the trip. So I picked up, or I should say I brought with me, a U-Green dock. It's a dock that I've reviewed on this channel a while ago. It works great for Samsung decks, but more importantly, it allows me to offload micro SD cards and then back them up with an external hard drive, while being connected to either my tablet or my phone. So definitely like a very necessary tech item, especially if you don't have like a 256 gigabyte micro SD card. Now, the next morning, we were hoping and praying for a clear day, but apparently the rain gods were not listening, because we went through a absolutely stunning national forest on the way to Kaesang, which is another village along the border with Laos. Unfortunately, going through this tropical rainforest that was absolutely stunning, there was enough rain on the roads to make them really, really slick with like wet leaves and some mud and other stuff. But it wasn't rainy enough to kind of like ruin the trip, I guess you would say, because the cloud cover coming over the mountains was absolutely phenomenally beautiful. Now, this section of road is known to be particularly daunting because, first of all, there's no phone reception. Second of all, there's a stretch of well over 100 kilometers where you don't have any gas stations at all. And for my motorcycle, I'm not that worried about it, but Gonzo's bike does not have the same kind of gas mileage or the same size tank as mine. He's lucky to get like 150 kilometers, 200 kilometers to a tank, and going up and down mountains meant that we were definitely worried about gas for him. Now, with that in mind, we brought some snacks and we took a slow pace, stopping for photos along the way. And everything was going well until we kind of decided to like ignore the GPS, which we probably couldn't have even used, and just follow the road signs, because we were beginning to run out of daylight again. And as soon as we got out of the mountains, we kind of realized that we made a wrong turn. And instead of being by the town of Kaesang at the border with Laos, we went to the beach, kind of in the opposite direction. And we ended up near a coastal city called Quang Tri. It's a central Vietnamese kind of fishing village that is kind of meant for tourism, but it's not really like the tourist destination. And we just kind of took the highway to a popular photo area of Quang Tri, which we later found out was not the tourist destination of Guangxi. And so we didn't have much in the way of hotels. That said, the first meal that we had there was pretty good. It was another sticky rice or soy, but this was like a more central Vietnamese style soy that had chicken in it, and it was pretty good. We found a cheap hotel though that was right on the beach, and by that time I had to teach English online after we'd kind of checked in the hotel. And that brings me to the last two pieces of tech that I brought with me. The first is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus. Now, me and my wife have been using this tablet for well over 4 years, and it's been absolutely rock solid. We have the battery protection set to maximum because we charge it overnight, and the thing still gets great battery life. And it was totally necessary for me to bring this tablet so that I could teach online, as well as kind of offloading media from the trip. And it was nice to be able to kind of connect via DeX to the TV so that Gonzo could watch the Arsenal soccer game before bedtime. I absolutely love having a tablet with me, and I think that for traveling like this, something like a Samsung Galaxy Tab that you can kind of connect to a TV over USB Type-C and have a dock is just like a really, really convenient thing. The second piece of tech is going to be the KZ Vader Pro headphones, but I've got a lot more on those headphones coming up in my next video where I talk about what my experience was in the city of Hue and getting lost in the mountains with no SIM card. And if you guys want to see that video, make sure you're subscribed because I have a bunch more content coming, especially about these headphones and about this trip. I hope you guys enjoyed this different video where I try to tell a bit of a story and intertwined some of my tech choices along with that. If you guys like that, please subscribe. And until next time, it's been Mitchell. Peace. Check.